You're listening to the Common Fan Podcast, a Husker football podcast for the common fan, by the common fan.
Welcome back to the Common Fan Podcast. I am TJ Burkle, as always, alongside Matty Owens Sr. and Geoff in Lincoln. The Huskers get back on track with a big win against Purdue, and you, Common Fan, need to get your grilling game back on track, probably. Go to Certified Piedmontese Beef, cpbeef.com, and get all the stuff that you need. The best steaks, the best ground beef, beef brats, beef ribs, beef bacon, roasts, the whole deal. And all the beef you can think of. And if you get it from cpbeef.com, you can use the promo code COMMONFAN, all one word, COMMONFAN, and get 25% off. You can also go to your local Mercado butcher shops in Lincoln or Omaha. Get all the stuff I just mentioned. Get all the fresh cuts. Get all the stuff from your butcher shop, but also hot food to go. Which is delicious and fantastic and everything that you could ask for. Okay, Certified Piedmontese, cpbeef.com, promo code COMMONFAN, 25% off. It's simple, Common Fans. Do it. Do it now. What are you waiting for?
Do it.
Do it now. Certified Piedmontese, powering the Husker football team and powering the Common Fan Podcast. Also, check out our brand new website, www.commonfan.co. We went to TS Web Services to build the site for us. Whether you need web development or hosting, they've got you covered. We had a great experience working with their team. They were very responsive and delivered high quality work. Check out all that they have to offer at tswebservices.com. Learn more at tswebservices.com. Nebraska beats Purdue 28-10. A piece of cake, guys. No concerns any step of the way.
Nothing to see here.
Knew we had it all along. Bounce back game from, again, after Illinois, bounce back game from the start. No problems, no issues whatsoever.
Yep.
Just kind of workmanlike performance.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll
crystal
see you next
clear.
week. Bring on Rutgers. Bring on everything is moving in the right direction.
No problems at all.
Obviously, we're being tongue in cheek, Common Fans. I don't know what I did here. So the things I had pulled up are no longer there. I'm going to pull it back up. I'm going to read through how each team's possessions went for the entire first half, and then we're going to look at what happened in the second half. But I mean, it's 0-0 at halftime.
For those that are squeamish, maybe want to earmuff it here.
Yeah, this content is graphic in nature.
Yeah,
so turn away.
It's 0-0 at halftime. After, guys, that was probably the ugliest / worst half of football I've ever seen. Like Huskers or not,
exactly.
Just like the ugliest half of football I've ever seen.
Period.
And that is saying something after the last several years of Nebraska football.
Yes, that's definitely saying something.
Thank God that game was on Peacock, so only those two teams' fans were probably watching that.
Touche.
It's just a total embarrassment for anyone that cares about what other fan bases think of our program. That was terrible football. That was what I used to make fun of the Big Ten for before we joined. I was like, 0-0 at halftime, real barn burner here.
Exactly. I was nervous. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch the Washington-Rutgers game on Friday night, but it was eerily similar to that, and it was making me very nervous. Washington vastly outgained Rutgers. They had over 500 yards to Rutgers, like 290 something or something. But they kept having penalties. They missed 3 field goals, Washington did. They made a bunch of mistakes and ultimately lost by 3 points to Rutgers. And so that whole first half, after having just watched that game the night before, I was super nervous and thinking about that game. Then we'll get to all this. They did bounce back and completely flipped the script in the second half, which is really encouraging to see. And we're going to talk about that. But let's just start here, guys. Nebraska did move. We got a lot of first downs. We kept moving the ball. But at the end of the day, we had no points in the first half. So this is how the first half went. Nebraska punt, Purdue punt, Nebraska missed field goal. Purdue missed field goal. Nebraska punt. Purdue punt. Nebraska missed field goal. That second one was blocked.
Yep.
Purdue, then after that, Purdue punt. Nebraska punt. Purdue punt. This is still in the first half. Another Nebraska missed field goal. That one was also
A
blocked.
block too, yeah.
After an 8-play, 61-yard drive to get into field goal range at the end of the half. And then end of half. I mean, and the penalties, there were so many. And let's be honest here. Purdue could not drop into coverage without getting called for pass interference.
Right.
Oh, dude,
That must have been a record for pass interference. And several of them were interference. I must say they had a hard time covering our guys. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a couple of those were interference. And the call, the phantom call on Fedoni where he legitimately endeavored to steer clear of the guy and didn't even touch him. Took away a touchdown in the first. So there was like the refs did not help things. And I really, we bend over backwards to try not to blame the refs guys. Cause like there were some bad against Illinois, but Nebraska, there was a lot to blame Nebraska for against Illinois, but they did not help things at all in that game.
No. I don't. And I have a question for both of you.
Yes.
The call with Fedoni and that pick play, is that accurate? Like he didn't touch him. He came up on him and acted like he was gonna make contact with him, moved completely out of the way. I just didn't follow what the referee was saying when he was talking about if it would have been behind the line of scrimmage, it wouldn't have been.
So he can block the defender if they're on the line of scrimmage and that ball is thrown behind the line of scrimmage, he can go, he has every right to go block that defender.
Okay.
But that to me, that was like just the dumbest explanation for that. Like maybe we might have like asked for that, I think was why we.
I don't think you can review the penalty itself. So that's why.
Yeah.
I don't, which is then it's kind of stupid.
I think somebody said on Twitter that they wondered if he just wanted that looked at again so they could see that they completely missed the call.
To make sure they saw that they missed it.
So
right. Because you can't review. So Geoff, I think because Fedoni's lined up on the line of scrimmage, so on passing plays, linemen can't block downfield.
Right.
Until the ball is caught. I think once the ball is caught, then everybody can move forward. Right. I think.
Well, there's I can't remember, it's 3 or 5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage where I think receivers can lock up with defenders too. But that's a typical like rub play or pick play. Okay.
Right. It happens all the time.
Yeah. If he runs into the defender, and especially if he has his hands out, like he's going to block him, I see that's you can call offensive pass interference on that. But he did not touch. He went out of his way to avoid the defender. That's a perfectly legal play.
That was brutal. And
okay, so they got it wrong. That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, they got it wrong. Yep. And when you thought about it at halftime, I think we tweeted something along these lines, but you had that and 3 missed field goals. It should have been, at worst, it should have been 7-0. Factor in the 3 field goals, it should have been 16-0 at half.
Yeah.
And let's talk about one bright spot here. The defense played really well.
Yeah, so that looked more like our defense that we thought.
They looked
back. How we thought they would look this season. Like every game we thought that's how they're going to play.
We think they should look. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Purdue really couldn't get anything going at all. After they did rush for around 250 yards, I think, against in their first game against Indiana State, and over 260 against Oregon State. So you know that they can do that. But Hudson Card didn't look good. The running game didn't look good. But a lot, credit to the black shirts for that. So hats off to the defense. But that first half, I want to go back to just focusing on this. So going into halftime, it's just that uneasy feeling of that we've had for how many years now.
Yeah.
And here's a thought that I had, guys. So then we bounce back. We basically win the second half 28-10 because it was 0. But we really they went down and got a field goal to start the half, and then we just kind of took control from there.
Yeah, and they took Purdue took a lot of time off the clock that first drive of the second half too.
No, they did,
8 or 9 minutes.
And I think let's go there. Let's go there for a minute. They took time off the clock. They went down and got points. We hadn't done anything in the first half, and so again, compounding those feelings of here we go again. This is clearly we were the more talented team, but we're letting them hang around. They're starting to believe. There are crowds into it. Here's the thought that I had when I was watching this game, guys. Mike Riley team probably loses that game. A Scott Frost team definitely loses that game.
Definitely loses.
Yeah.
And Matt Rhule in year 1 very well could lose that game.
Sure.
But none of those teams, none of Riley at any point, Frost at any point, or Rhule in year one, I don't think any of those bounced back and just completely put the game away. And so to where we're basically not stressing in the fourth quarter, where we have a comfortable win in the fourth quarter. So I want to acknowledge that Husker fans are going to have a lot to complain about, and we're going to get to special teams in particular, and the sloppiness of the offense and the penalty bug and all that. But I want to acknowledge that's not insignificant to see the Huskers bounce back, not panic. The defense continued to lock. I mean, that touchdown was in garbage time. So really the defense gave up 3 points for all intents and purposes when it mattered.
Yeah.
Scored,
and
Purdue
it was
scored.
It was a good catch. I mean, it's good. Charles had good coverage on it. It's just like the guy made a good catch.
Yeah. But that was like late in the game. It didn't really matter is the point.
Right. But like
so
Jeff was saying, TJ, before you sat down and we hit record, like it's so nice to be able to complain about things that aren't right after a win.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it's so much easier to be like, God, our field goal unit is atrocious, maybe the worst in college football. But hey, we played well the second half. We actually committed to the run, and look what happened.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think one of my takeaways from this game is going to be that like this might be annoying for Husker fans to hear, but this is a step, like this kind of win after the first half that we had is a step forward in year two. Right.
Oh, absolutely.
I think, and maybe there's a little bit of hangover from Illinois. Maybe they were still in a little bit of a funk after that loss.
First road game.
First road game. You don't want to excuse the first half necessarily. I'm not trying to make excuses, but the defense kept them in it. So it didn't go off the rails. And then they just came out and all, what they did differently in the second half? They committed to the run more too.
Yeah. Look what happens. And is it obvious to anybody else that, like you've said all along, TJ, and like this podcast has said all along, Emmett's the guy. Emmett Johnson
coming out party.
His
Emmett Johnson coming out party.
He has, I think it looks like, for me, like he has the best vision out of the backs that we have. And with a kind of shaky offensive line, we got some backups that are having to play a lot now with a couple of guys out. You want the guy with the best vision that's going to find a crease when maybe there's not a whole lot there.
Yeah.
And I think he's that guy more than Ramir, as much as I love Ramir and as much as I love Dante. Like those guys run hard, but Emmett's fine. Emmett's like make a little cut and then get some yards and get forward.
Well,
it's nice to have that parity though. Like you have Dante that'll run through people, but you're right. You got Emmett that he can juke or make a little move here and there. So it's nice to have both of them.
Yeah. At one point in the first half, it was like a draw play. This is where the common fans are not X's and O's guys, but it was like a draw play. And like Dowdell took the handoff and it looked like the cutback was wide open.
Yeah.
And he just kind of like barreled forward for about a yard. And that's okay. I love that about him. I love that he's not afraid of contact.
We love when he wants to barrel, but you got to know when to barrel.
But it's kind of like, I think Emmett's the guy who can see that and boom, hit it. And I think, we've gone back and forth on this. Gabe Ervin is kind of hammer. Yeah. Ramir is your shifty. There's definitely a spot for Ramir, and it's awesome to see him continue to contribute. But he's more of a pass catching back. He's a little smaller, he's shiftier. So the two most complete backs are Emmett and Dowdell. I feel like, but we've gone back and forth on this, but we were reading the Emmett Johnson horn way back in the offseason. Yeah. He seems to be the most complete back. I think he is.
I think so.
Speed. He's not afraid to run into contact, and he's got the vision. He can catch the ball. He catches the ball out of the backfield. I mean, Emmett Johnson, and Rhule has said multiple times they want to get him more involved. Like a couple of those games where they didn't get him as involved, he said they want to get him involved, and they committed to doing that today. So hats off to that.
Yeah. And thank God, like the first half, I mean, we love our $1.4 million man, but my God, if we get down to the 5-yard line again, and it's second and goal from the 5, and we throw 2 straight incomplete passes one more damn time, I swear to God, I'm going to go down to One Memorial Stadium Drive and knock on a frickin' door. Because I don't understand that at all. Especially
it's that guy from the Common Fan podcast.
I can't remember which drive it was. But we started to run the ball a little bit, and we get down, to the 5-yard line.
Yep.
It's second and goal from the 5. Dear God, we're not going to line up and kick it. Like run it 3 times in a row. Run it
Yes.
3 times in a row. If you don't get it on 4th and 1 from hopefully you're on the 1, you pin them down at the 1. Like,
Yep.
my God, run the damn ball inside the 5-yard line.
Yeah.
It's,
And there was
it's just football. That's football.
there was another
that's
one.
elementary football.
We completed the first down pass at the 5-yard line. So it's 1st and goal at the 5. I think this was ended up being one of the touchdowns. So this was in the second half. 1st and 5, they give it to Gabe Irvin, and he gets 4 yards. He kind of ran around the right side. You guys picture that near the sideline.
Yep.
2nd and goal from the 1. At that point, this is exactly what we've been talking about. At that point, you say, we are running it for 3 plays in a row if we have to. And we know we're going to run, and you know we're going to run, but we're going to run over you.
Yep.
And that's just a mindset. That's an identity. That is a decision. 2nd and goal at the 1, they do some BS play action crap that, I mean, it got batted down. It probably wasn't close to getting intercepted.
Rhule
My first thought was, okay, was that what it was? Okay,
yeah.
I was watching that part on my phone. So
yeah,
first thought was like, hey, you're gonna get picked off. And then and then on 3rd and 1, I don't know who they handed it to up the middle, but he dove and didn't quite.
It was Carter Nelson.
Was it Carter Nelson?
Yeah. We ran Gabe down to the 1. Then that play obviously was busted because Raiola just knew he didn't have anything right away and threw it at the receiver's feet. And then we line up our true freshman, who right now is a receiver, Carter Nelson, to try to go over the top. Like, what the hell? Stop being so damn cute. Stop doing that.
You saying
like
that
the Barney stuff's working. That cute part of getting
that
the running and going,
yeah.
that stuff's working. Keep that cuteness. You don't need to put your true freshman receiver at running back and have him go over the top.
You have 4 running backs. You have 4 running backs.
Put Gabe, let Gabe go back and you have him come in and run it and get 5 yards and then you take him out and you bring in your true freshman. What are you doing? Yeah. And meanwhile, Emmett had already gotten going at that point and then he's out. Like, let him finish off the drive. He helped get us down there.
Exactly.
I agree, man.
I was saying that the whole first half, where it's like even the rushing plays that are successful are these things on the edge or this like reverses to Barney. And again, we're all for, like, that's great. Ja'Cory Barney, get the ball in his hands. Great. Sounds great. But there was no commitment to just like, the good old fashioned, off tackle run game. Right. And then we started doing that immediately in the second half. I can't wait to see. We're recording this pretty quickly right after the game. And so we haven't seen any of the post-game press conference or the Monday press conference from Coach Rhule yet. But I'm anxious to see if there's any indication that Rhule said something to Satterfield and basically said, we need to like let's go. Let's ground and pound this second half. Because Purdue came into this game, however many teams there are, 135 FBS teams or whatever they are, Purdue is like 132nd in rush defense. Like they're the 3rd worst, basically. Whatever it is, they're 3rd from last out of 130 plus teams. And and I will say, like, it looked like easy pitch and catch for Raiola many, many times. He had all day to throw, and he would just kind of lob it almost on a few of them, and guys were wide open in the middle of space. So I don't exactly know what Purdue was doing there. And obviously you have to exploit that. But again, it all comes back to, here's what I kept thinking too. I don't know if we can say this legitimately after the second half. Here's what I kept thinking that whole first half. Don't get up at that podium and say you want to have a downhill run game. Don't get up and say you want to wear teams down by the 4th quarter, because this is not that. No, this is not that. We're all for utilize the skill set of your 5-star quarterback. That's great. To throw the ball when you need to throw the ball. But this is not a commitment to the run game. No. That's how the first half felt. The second half was better. Second half felt more like it. But when you think about going up against one of the nation's worst rushing defenses, the first half was just sort of head scratching. There was another one, Matty. I think the first or second drive, Matty, where we got a few first downs and then 3 straight incomplete. It
was the first drive.
Drop back pass. Was it the first drive? Yeah.
We ran it with, I think Dowdell got like 4, and then we threw to.
And Barney
Carter Nelson got a first down, and then it was the reverse to Barney for like 41 yards. And then we went pass, incomplete, pass, incomplete, pass, incomplete.
And especially, what did Evan talk about? He said this team Purdue's been beaten down if the Huskers can get out to an early lead, they'll probably just fold.
Yeah.
And so it was like, everything's on track. Here we go. And incomplete.
And I think for
So
this
frustrating.
Husker team, I think it's going to be very important for them psychologically to draw first blood and score first. I think it's going to make a huge difference with this team and their psyche. If we can go down and score first against most teams we have left on our schedule, I like our chances. But for some reason, it still feels like there's a lot of mental hurdles that we have to get over. And you know what? You should not have your starting right tackle who started more games in Nebraska football history than I think anybody, for sure the lineman. Benhart cannot have a false start on 4th and 1. Because I think that was the first. That was the first or second drive too. It's 4th and 1. We're going for it, and then false start. Now it's 4th and 6. Like different story.
We had that on a 4th and 1. We had a 3rd and 1 where it was. Then we had, and then it was 3rd and 6, and we didn't get it. It was just, again, the Zebras were. I don't think Matt Rhule is going to be sending any Christmas cards to those referees today. They were pretty bad. A friend of the program, Michael Severe, actually tweeted, grade for the refs so far, F minus minus minus. I think it was like in the at halftime or something. So the refs were bad, but some of those penalties were like obvious and really untimely once again.
Yeah. And credit to Rhule too, after he actually got flagged after he had received a warning, then actually got it on sportsmanlike. I guess the one thing I did see about post game was he said somebody's got to fight for Nebraska, and I'm going to fight for Nebraska. So that's going to.
He said that in the post game.
Yeah, so that's going to get people pumped up. So
he should run for governor.
Yeah, I mean he'd probably win.
He definitely.
But you know what? If I'm in his shoes, like I'm doing everything I can too, because it feels like there's been 2, maybe 3 games where Nebraska's on the short end of the stick in terms of officiating. Right. Like, yeah, we've had some penalties where we actually committed face masks and things like that. But like the one against Fedoni today and some of the penalties we've had the last few games is like, are you kidding me? Like, what do you have it out for us, sir?
Poor Ramir. Wasn't that Ramir today on the Fedoni phantom call?
Yeah.
And then wasn't it Ramir who scored a touchdown against Colorado that got called back? Or no, Ramir was the one doing the blocking on that.
No. Oh no, it was.
He was the one doing the blocking on that one.
Yeah.
I can't remember who scored the touchdown on that one, but yeah, it's got to be better.
Yeah.
And I don't know if these guys are getting trained. I just don't remember. I don't remember so many, like growing up watching football. I don't know when it changed.
Flags. It's so many
flags all the time. And then of course, the one time they let him play and they miss a call, everybody loses their minds on those too. So I would hate to be an official. It's probably can't win, but there's too many flags.
Yeah.
Too many flags.
You know what the old saying is, like, you could call holding on every single play.
Right.
You could. But like, it's just like, nobody wants that. Like, call it if it's blatant, you know? Yeah. Call one when Nebraska's on defense. How come we never get those calls? We seriously like never get a holding call when we're on defense. I mean, we had one play where MJ Sherman was blatantly held and we ended up sacking Hudson Card. And I'm like, well, where's the flag? There's no flag. He should have been a hold. And then they still sacked him. No flag. You could see the jersey going like this. And I'm like, that is holding. The guy is reaching out with his, like, if the lineman or a blocker has his hands inside, or at least on the shoulder pads, usually you're going to be okay. So when that guy turns and you see jersey going with him, I don't know.
And it feels like at least there's never an opportunity is never missed to call that when we do it. That's how it feels, right?
It's the CFIC.
They are still
after us.
Still around.
We're still trying to keep us down. Well, they don't like the 4-1 start. They're trying to keep us down.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
For new listeners, college football industrial complex. You'll hear us talk about it a lot, but it's the powers that be in college football trying to keep Nebraska down. So, well, let's look. I'm going to bring up a couple. I texted you guys these tweets during the game in hopes that we could reference. I figured we would reference them either way, and I'm glad that we can reference them in a positive light now. So I want to pivot to, that kind of captures the game summary. I want to pivot to let's hit some high points here. And these are going to sound negative, but bear with me. So Jack Mitchell tweeted, or he shared, somebody shared, Nebraska crossed the 50-yard line on all 6 of its offensive possessions in the first half, but could not muster a single point. Purdue crossed the 50 just once, also did not have any points. And then Mitch Sherman, as things crept along in that first half, we kept not getting over the hump. Mitch Sherman tweeted, "This has all the makings early of an awful game for Nebraska that causes it to leave here with a lot of regrets and a season steered in the wrong direction. The Huskers need to do something before Purdue captures momentum and it goes downhill." I just want to make a point again. I know it's just Purdue. I know they might be the worst team in the Big Ten, but I want to point again about how important winning that game was. I would have taken a 1-point win, and I think we'd probably still say the same thing. I think it's even more important that they kind of came out and dominated and said, okay, enough messing around. We're going to take care of business here. But I was texting with a friend of the program, Dr. Weber, before the game, and we were joking that it's, in a weird way, it feels like a must-win game. Like if you beat Purdue, it's just that, well, that's what they were supposed to do. Yeah. But if you lose to Purdue, to
all hope is lost.
Like everything
that
is like
changes the entire outlook of the season.
Suddenly, we're hoping for 6 in a bowl game, and that's really the high. Suddenly it's everything is back in flux, and so I think people are going to see 28-10 on the ticker and not pay much attention to this game. People, college football watchers across the country. But look, Husker fans have plenty to pick at, and we will. But let's just go back to, like, this was an important win, especially given the way that it started.
Absolutely.
It's an important win. I'm going to play devil's advocate, though, TJ.
Of course you are, Jeff.
Jeff, don't agree with me.
All I'm saying, I'm not disagreeing, but I am saying that even though we won, it still kind of changed my view on the rest of the season, because we cannot sleepwalk in a first half like that for the rest of the schedule. We just cannot do that. We're lucky it was Purdue when this happened, because every single game now, for me, I'm just like, is this winnable now? Like, the way we started off in this game makes me question everything that I thought before we got on the field today. It just worries the hell out of me. So I'm glad we won. I'm glad we bounced back in the second half. Don't get me wrong, but it did almost kind of shake my confidence even more, even though we won, if that makes sense.
No, I think that's totally fair. I think that's totally fair.
I think it makes sense. I have to remind, excuse me. Sorry about that. I have to remind myself sometimes that these are 18 to 22-year-old kids. Mm-hmm. And you go from a big game for us last week, where we came up short and really kind of fell apart at the end, to the next week, there may be a little more doubt than you would have had prior to that Illinois game. And you look across the country, I didn't see fully what happened, but, Ole Miss loses at home to a top 10 team. Ole Miss loses at home to Kentucky and misses a field goal. Yeah. You just, across the board, with the best teams, the average teams, whoever, you don't know what you're going to get week to week in college football. That's kind of what makes it awesome. Like, these kids, because that's what they are, it's hard to get them to be at the same level of being up every single week. Like, the team that we were when we played Colorado in that first half, that was the best half of football we've played all year. We looked like we would have a fantastic season. Saying nothing about how good or bad Colorado is, we dominated. And they had really talented players. Like, it's hard to maintain that, even half to half. Not forget about game to game. When Nebraska hasn't played a complete football game in who knows how long, it's been years. So at least it's like, okay, we had one of the worst halves of football we've had under Matt Rhule, and they came out and took care of business and did what they're supposed to do second half. So, Jeff, I get what you're saying completely, 100%. It makes you question how the rest of the season is going to go. But man, week to week, you don't know what you're getting with anybody in the country.
That's true.
The top dogs, even like Georgia squeaked one out against Kentucky last week. Yeah. So it's like, who knows, man? Just survive in advance. Just take care of business and win. And
celebrate every W. Want to know
find a freaking 3 guys. One that can snap a football, one that can catch it and put it down on the ground, and one that can kick it when it's there.
I want to come back to that. I want to come back to that. Hold tight. I want to come back to that. Geoff, further to your point, friend of the program, Jim in Minnesota, tweeted shortly after the game, happy with the win and the second half success, but I'm so unhappy with this team overall. So many issues I thought would have been behind us by game 17. Maybe just maybe Nebraska can build on the lessons learned in this game. I think that's the general sense of frustration that would be understandable. Matty, I think your point is well taken. I'm on the celebrate all the W's train, but that's what I felt myself thinking, especially in the first half. Like after Colorado, we thought, okay, I don't know if this is an 11-win team or an 8-win team, but we have launched forward as a better team on multiple fronts. And today felt like, at least in the first half, felt like the same old thing. And I think you're right, Geoff. We all know the second half of the schedule is going to be a lot tougher. And you can't afford a half like that against probably even an Indiana, certainly not an Ohio State, not a USC, not an Iowa or Wisconsin. All of those things are going to be true. But thankfully it was against Purdue. The schedule gods, worked in our favor the first half of the season. And maybe we come out, maybe after that second half, we come out and play our most complete game against Rutgers. I just think anything is, I'm with Matty O, where I'm a little more optimistic that so setting aside special teams for a moment, because we have to come back to that. But everything else, I'm pretty optimistic about what I've seen from this offense most of the season. The D bounce back today, they've largely been at least even the D against Illinois, which we were disappointed in, is better than most Husker defenses of the last decade. You know what I'm saying? I watched that Rutgers game. The Rutgers offense is nothing special. Like we're going to be fun. We're going to be I'm going to feel good about us going into Rutgers after this win. So I think it's fair for common fans to sort of be all over the map on this one. But I think at the end of the day, we got to celebrate being 4-1. And you just hope, I think to the point that's being made here all around, you just got to hope that you start to see a step forward on some of this.
Yeah.
That's what's so frustrating is when we see the same old stuff that's your point, I think, Jeff, is the same old stuff we've been seeing for almost a decade now.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
It's the penalties and the penalties and special teams. You even make those two things half as good or half as bad, depending on how you look at it.
Is that going to be our mantra this season? If we just had a special teams unit that was average.
Well, how much?
Well, let's go there.
Let's talk about the special teams. How much does that change? How much does that change what we're saying and thinking? If Johnny Hole, we get a snap and a hold down, and Johnny Hole makes 2 out of 3. Like it's totally different.
The second 2 are not, in my opinion, are not on Johnny Hole at all.
No,
they're not on him at all. Both of those snaps were dog shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I don't think you can blame the holder either, frankly. Like both of those snaps were terrible. And then the holder scrambling and everything is off, and then both kicks get blocked. But what the question I have, what's unacceptable to me is we've talked about this many times now, the whole freaking university sponsored propaganda video Chasing 3 is titled Chasing 3.
Yeah.
And it's titled Chasing 3 because of how many games we lost by 3 points last season.
Yeah.
And how close we were to having, 8 or 9 wins last season.
Mm-hmm.
But we were chasing those 3 points. And the thing that we don't seem to be doing any better, and in fact, we seem to be doing it worse, is kicking field goals, which are worth 3 points.
It's worse. It's 100%
those who
worse.
People forget field goals are worth 3 points.
Is Alvaro out? Is he out? Like, how long is he gone? I'm just curious. I don't know.
He's injured, but I mean,
it can't be any worse if he came back.
Yeah, love Tristan Alvaro. He's an in-state kid. We want him to do well, but there were a lot of question marks coming into the season.
Yeah,
and they went just the execution on special teams is not acceptable at all.
No,
the kicking game is the most of it, but the Cubs been so it's just the special teams in 2014 after some atrocious special teams, Bo Pelini just took over special teams and it got markedly better. Like if you just high school teams do special teams better. If you just commit to it, like special teams it's a matter of repetition and committing to it. Snapping the ball to the holder on field goal kicks is a matter of just repetition and committing to it. And for some reason, I'm sure it's more complicated than this, or I'm sure they're working very hard at it. It's just unacceptable.
It is, totally is. I mean, it was maddening to watch. Like I knew, like, is it sad for me to say this, but like anytime I knew that we were going to miss every time that we lined up. Like I just knew it was. I acted like I was shocked in front of my family and yelled at the TV, did the hat throw, punched the couch, whatever. I knew it. Like I had no confidence. Like if I have no confidence watching it at my house, I can't believe how the lack of confidence that's probably out on the field at that point. Like it was that bad. It's pathetic. It's embarrassing. And if close games are going to happen, like we said, we had one last week that we didn't, pull out a W on. These are going to happen. And if this is still an issue, we're in big trouble for the rest of the season, because a lot of these next upcoming games, we're not going to be blowing teams out. I think you both know that. Like we're going to probably be in some dogfights, and this can't happen. You know what I mean? Like I think that worries me too for the rest of the season, is if we're going to be playing teams close with our offense, this is going to be a problem. This could be a disaster. So that makes me nervous too. I'm sorry, I'm negative about all this stuff. You guys are trying to keep it positive, but it does concern me.
No, I think it's totally fair, Jeff. I think what we're saying, I think we're agreeing a lot. I think what we're saying is all of these things are concerns. And the hope is we're 5 games in, we're 4-1. Okay. It's about where we wanted to be. We very well could be 5-0, but like pretty well on track with where we wanted to be. Learn from this. Show us you can learn from this. Show us you can come out, and fix it.
If it's 4th and less than 5, I think we just got to consider going for it. I think it's just totally foolish until Johnny Hole or Alvano makes like 50 in a row from 40 yards in practice. Like,
because I
just
guess
put it in Raiola's hands. I like our chances better with that.
I agree. I totally agree. The other thing is I don't know enough. Like, how do you fix a kicker? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what goes into that. Like, how do you kick the ball differently, or is it all just a mental thing? Like, I don't know how.
Well, that's the other part of that is like, it's the whole process, right? Like a bad snap, a bad hold throws off a kicker's rhythm.
That's true too. Yeah.
It's a timing thing. It's a rhythm thing, and there's none of it. There's nothing. So I feel for the kid, because it's like, he's watching the hold. He's watching the snap, watching the hold, and then he's just got to kick it when the ball's down.
You're right. I shouldn't.
He's going to get a lot of blame from a lot of fans that maybe aren't as savvy, because they aren't watching the snap and the hold and everything. But my God,
look at you!
They've got to figure. Didn't we just like 2 weeks ago have like open competition at snapper too? Like, this is the guy they came up with. I swear to God, they had like an open competition for long snapper.
Yeah, they did.
Which I don't know if that's punt and field goal, or if just punt. Because I hear long snapper, I think, oh, that's for sure, that's punt. But you probably have the same guy doing it. So I don't know what the hell they got going on. The guy that we had was, I think, even last year or the year before that, he ended up like being on an NFL roster for a minute because he was so damn good at long snapping. So it's like, I don't know, man. We used to be like special teams university with the field goal kickers we had through here and the punters. I mean, hey, our boy Boosh, man, he was the leading tackler for a hot minute there in the first half with 3 tackles.
Dude, Boosh had wasn't that him on the opening kick of the second half where they tried that little nifty reverse thing? He lit up that guy.
Yeah, he did.
That was a heck of a tackle.
You know what? He's got to be careful. He's a married man. He's got a wife to think about, but he doesn't even care. I love that guy.
I'm wondering that with that open tryouts for long snapper. Like, I wonder who got that gig. It was probably some like 38-year-old dude, insurance salesman out there. Still has some years left of eligibility.
Hey, we've all got eligibility left. I could long snap.
I'll get out there. I'll give it a try. Screw it.
Well, and as long as we're doing so I don't know what the answer is on special teams, but sticking with sort of questions, concerns, with the other one that's been mentioned is just the penalty thing.
I mean,
and like why like what do we need to do to get over the hump on the penalty thing? Sorry, Matteo, go ahead. You're going to say.
No, I was just going to say.
We're not done with special teams. So
poor Ed Foley was getting called the leader of ISIS on Twitter, and people saying we need to go arrest him, and some people saying he needs to like be fired immediately after the game. It's like, Jeez Louise, man. And it's too bad. I like Ed Foley's personality, but his units have got to be better, man. Guy's been coaching football for like 30 years. He's got to figure something out.
No, he's got
Yeah.
to figure something out. He's not a terrorist leader, though, and so
No, he is not
It's
the
let's
leader
definitely
of
not
be clear.
bad.
ISIS. Husker
As far
Husker
Right.
Twitter.
Right.
Husker
As
Twitter
far
would just relax.
as far as we can tell, he's a loyal, freedom loving American, and
Yeah,
so
totally.
let's keep it on the football field here, common fans.
Oh yeah.
But the penalty thing too, I feel like I'm sure the data is available. I'm not looking at the data, but I feel like the two most common offenders on the offensive line are Bryce Benhart and Ben Scott, both
Seniors.
seniors. It's just so frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, you know what? I mean, who knows if we've got Micah Mezcua. It sure looks like Mezcua. I want to say Mezcua, but everyone says Mezcua. So I've seen that he's off the team. I've seen that he's not off the team. Like, I don't know what's going on with that guy. We lost Corcoran. We lost Teddy P earlier in the year. Like,
Well, this is a good segue to let's pivot to let's hit some high points here. The ones or some that we haven't hit yet. First of all, I think Gunnar Gatula, redshirt freshman, stepped in, and again, we're not X's and O's guys, but the fact that we weren't treated to a bunch of highlights of him getting beat shows me that he's doing the job.
Exactly.
Right? I mean,
That's
that's
when
a
you know.
big deal at left tackle. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And one thing Rhule has done with his first two recruiting classes is brought in a bunch of dudes on the offensive line. And so you think about a guy like that getting reps now. And so next year, that first recruiting class of O linemen that he brought in will be third years, sophomores or juniors or whatever they are. And so like that, that's valuable. And there is part of me, these guys all have bled Husker red and they deserve our utmost respect. But part of me is like watching this offensive line. I'm like, maybe we just need to move on from some of these older guys.
I know it's
start mixing in some of these young guys.
Yeah,
because it's the same old stuff.
What? I kind of felt like that a little bit after the Illinois game was kind of like, it's great to have experienced players and leaders, but is it still good if those guys have never won anything? Like they don't know how to win. The whole thing of knowing how to win. These guys have never won. The old guys on defense proved me wrong today. Like they stepped up and they played like we thought they would. The Ty Robinsons and the Giffords and Nash.
John Bullock once again.
John Bullock, God dang it! That guy is he endearing himself to Husker fans
he's
or
everywhere.
what?
Absolutely, I just love the name. It just sounds cool, John Bullock.
Yeah, just tough. but that's just doesn't still the offensive line, man. Like, I'm glad Bryce Benhart's 6'9". Does that help you be a good offensive lineman? Hell no, it doesn't.
Unclear.
No, like you always hear the low man wins, right? Low pad level wins. Like the guy that's 6'9" is not going to get lower than the guy across from him. And to have false starts again on 4th and 1, and you need to go get a yard and a half and get on the board, and your most experienced offensive lineman jumps. Like, my God, are you kidding me?
Frustrating. So frustrating.
And you want that guy to be the leader of the whole line.
Yeah.
Not to be the one committing the costly penalty. Right. Like, you can't have that.
All right. Another high point. We are +4 on wait a second. We were +4 on turnover margin going into this game. And I think we were +1 on the day with we didn't turn the ball over and Bullock had the pick 6.
Mm-hmm.
So we are now +5 on turnover margin. That is a number like that was one that like has been such a trouble spot in recent years. And even in years like the first non-conference games, we would be like in plus territory, and then we would just start turning the ball over in Big Ten play. So far, and Dylan's only interceptions, I'm trying to think, has he had any other than the 2 that were ripped out of receivers' hands?
No. I don't even view him as
maybe one other.
And no, I think just the 2 picks, and then one, and then fumbles, but no lost fumbles. I believe he had those 2 weird where he dropped the ball against Illinois, but
no, Dowdell lost a fumble against UTEP, right?
I thought we were talking about Rhule.
I thought we were talking about Rhule.
Oh, sorry.
No, yeah, I think we've protected the ball very well. I'm just knocking on wood over here like crazy.
We've done.
But
keep
the turnover. Keep winning turnover margin. We'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
For
Absolutely.
sure.
So my takeaway from this episode, guys, is that Matt and I believe we're going 11-1, and Jeff's worried that we might not even make a bowl game.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
I'm not going to correct you there. Okay. I'm just saying, I just want to let this be known. I almost rescinded my Ohio State call after this game. That's how dire things were getting, but I'm sticking with it. We won the game. So I'm sticking, as long as we can't sleepwalk at the beginning of these games. Up. Yeah, get out there. This is a bounce back game. You should have been out the gate kicking ass immediately.
Right? You'd love to see like the first quarter or the first half of Colorado or the second half do. You'd love to see that for 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Like we have not seen that for 4 quarters.
Take this one and take that one, and let's try to make one thing that's really good. Right. You take one thing that's good, one thing that's good, put them together. Yes.
Well, and this is a point.
Play a complete football game. That'd be amazing.
This is a point that Evan has made multiple times, where it's like the best of both worlds. Where, other than the loss to Illinois, we keep winning, but there's also so much we could do better. But at some point, that stuff we could do better is going to cost us games.
It's going to bite you.
Yep. Right? So let's get it together. But guys, we're 4-1. The Huskers won today. You can go about your.
Yeah.
Watch a little, take the afternoon. Well, by the time this episode's out, it'll be Monday. I hope Common fans are taking the afternoon and just watching more college football, or maybe getting your chores done, or maybe going to church with the family like Matty O's about to do, or whatever. But just like enjoy the rest of the weekend. Sunday, we can take it easy. Enjoy your Sunday. Like we're 4-1. We haven't been 4-1 for a long time. It's not been a common thing around here. We're 2 away from bowl eligibility with more than half the season to go. Like, took care of business against Purdue. Guys, I watched almost that whole Rutgers Washington game, which it's hard, as you guys know, with young children, it's hard to find time to watch games other than Nebraska games. I feel good about, like, Purdue's going to be, they're always physical with Schiano. They're always well coached. The offense is pretty pedestrian. The defense got gashed, actually. Like Washington missed a bunch of field goals and couldn't get in the end zone. But otherwise, the Rutgers defense gave up over 500. And every week is different, like you were saying, Matty. Point being, like, Rutgers is not rolling into Lincoln with a head of steam. I know they're 4-0, but much stiffer tests await.
Yeah.
And so I feel pretty good, at least, about going into the Rutgers game. And maybe if we can tighten some things up, I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah. They seem like a typical Rutgers Schiano team, where they're tough and gritty, but don't have a lot of dynamic.
Be the more talented team. Yeah, we will be the more talented.
Not real dynamic offensively, but they'll hang around. If you're gonna stub your toe and keep screwing up, they'll hang around,
and they will take advantage of mistakes, and they will. Yeah.
So we should take care of them and beat them. It's another one of, okay, let's do what we do. Go take care of business
and go immediately,
like you said, 1-0 week to week. Baby steps.
Come out the gate.
Joey Ritz knows it's baby steps, week by week. Baby steps to the elevator, baby steps upstairs, baby steps to line up the field goal unit.
Very baby steps. What were you saying there?
No, I was just piggybacking off what Matt said. Like we got to come out the gate and swing. Punch him in the mouth first. You know what I mean?
I think it's important. Because Matt said first blood.
It's for our psyche, our mentality. We need to get out there and set that tone immediately. If we set that tone immediately, we'll be just fine.
All right. Corn cobs, gentlemen. What do you got? Let's start with Geoff in Lincoln.
I mean, you could give it to Dylan every time, and I feel irresponsible constantly doing that. So you know what I'm going to give it to? I'm going to give it to the common fans, because this is another one of those emotional roller coasters where we have to ride that low and then things are great again. And to the common fans, we deserve it, because we've been through hell and back. The fans never deviate. They never leave. They're always there. We deserve this victory. It wasn't the prettiest one. Yeah, the score was great, but it doesn't necessarily affect the entire game. So common fans, I'm giving the corn cob to you.
Love it. Matty O, what do you got?
I'm going Mr. Electric, Ja'Cory Barney.
Boom.
I think this is my first offensive player. I might have maybe given a. I might have done Carter Nelson. Ja'Cory Barney led us in rushing, guys. 4 carries, 66 yards. For those wondering, Emmett Johnson, 8 carries, 50 yards. So still 6.3 per carry for Emmett. But 4 carries, 66 yards, 2 catches, 28 yards for Ja'Cory. And
the guy is a true freshman. What he's doing is incredible.
He's added an element to our offense that we have been missing for quite some time. Of a guy that just you're looking to any way possible to get him the ball, and he could take it to the house any given time. He's got to figure out how to not get absolutely obliterated and assholed by a tackle at the end of his runs, because he just gets smoked so hard. Well, he's going so fast, and he doesn't like slow up into contact, which is how you should do it. But he's such a skinny, rail thin guy that I'm just worried he's going to break one of these times. But keep running the ball, kid. Ja'Cory Barney, corn cup from Mattio.
Good job,
Mattio.
Love you, Ja'Cory.
So I'm gonna go with Emmett Johnson. We said going back to the preseason that he can be an every down back in the Big Ten. So far through 5 games, it's kind of been hit or miss. Like some games we kind of haven't seen him at all. Thought he looked great today. He was exactly what we needed in that second half. Mattio just said it. He had 8 carries for 50 yards. He also had 2 receptions for 35 yards. And that was him. If he hadn't tripped up, I think he had a long ways to run on that one. So that was
and then the one that one, I think that was maybe first half, but I don't know for sure. The one where we kind of just threw a little dump off to him and he got behind Lutovsky and was just like riding his hip. Oh my God, I love it.
Oh yeah, well was that the one on 2nd and 28?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got a first down. I think he came up like a yard or two short, but then he got his face mask. And then it was face mask.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Was he pushing him in the back, like guiding him? I remember that.
That was such maturity and patience. Like he's like, my best bet is to stick right behind you, big fella.
Yeah.
And it got him like another 10 yards just sticking with Lutovsky. Like that was so good. He is the most complete back.
Easily. I'm going to throw one other one out there since GF gave it to the fans, which of course we fully support as the common fans, but I feel like we've got another player who deserves one. I'm going to go Buschini. Just simply because I don't know how many opportunities we'll have to give one to the punter / kickoff specialist, but we talked about the big hit he had on the one kickoff. He also had some great punts today. Inside. That one early in the game absolutely should have been downed at about the 1 yard line. That might have been Emmett. I hate to say it. That might have been Emmett. Like somebody ran into the end zone. And nobody was there to like down the ball at the 1 yard line. It was a perfect punt by Buschini.
He had some nice backspin on that sucker. Like that was like a 56-degree wedge from about 80, 90 yards, put a little spin back on it.
That was part of the weirdness. That was part of the weirdness of the game I wanted to bring up earlier, but we kind of moved on. But like we would intentionally that was a weird thing too. We would take those intentional delay of games because we were in that like weird yardage area. But it was like calculated because you had enough confidence that if you take a few yards back, your punter can put it right where he needs to put it. And he did for the most part. So.
Yeah,
they declined that one. I didn't. I don't know.
I thought that was funny. I thought that was funny. We ran the clock all the way down, and then they declined it.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Yeah. Try it again. We'll decline it again.
Yeah.
Keep trying to take the penalty.
You know what? That's that big brain Ryan Walters.
Yeah.
You want to take the delay game? Get your punter some more room.
We're not taking it. Yeah, we're not taking it.
Decline, coach. Poor Ryan. He's not going to have a job after this year.
No, I don't think
that poor CU buff, that poor CU alum.
Oh man.
All right, any final thoughts, guys?
Yeah. Brett Maher. Get these guys figured out. We got to figure out the special teams. They brought them in for a reason. Let's figure it out. Second thing, I did take time out of my day during a Notre Dame v. Louisville top 25 barn burner to be here. So you better enjoy the content.
There's plenty of game for you left to watch there, you fence sitter, you Mr. Two favorite teams.
Okay,
Must
all
be
right.
nice.
Take it easy. Take it the F easy, all right?
Quick shout out again to close friend of the program, JT. Love you, JT. Yes. Keep fighting, buddy, and all the best to JT's family as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
100%.
Nothing but
second
love.
That.
Yeah, nothing but love and lots of thoughts and prayers for friend of the program, JT, and the whole family.
Very, Very good.
All right. Huskers beat Purdue 28-10 to get to 4-1. It feels good, Common fans. Now we can go. See, it doesn't feel better. The whole week's going to be better now that the Huskers won.
It really
is.
is.
One final thought, or one final thing to end on some levity. Friend of the program, Brett Baker, actually shared this, but we do follow this Husker radio caller a Twitter account. It's at NU radio caller. And the tweet is, Drew chimes in and is appalled that Dylan was checking his phone during a play. Drew thinks this segment is his audition segment for him to host a midday show, and he's trying to be full of jokes, but it's falling flat. So everybody check in. Husker radio caller at NU radio caller. They give kind of a roundup of the post-game call-in shows, and it's pretty freaking
weird. Those are even better in the later games, because you get Steve from Albion calling in, and he's had about 15 Busch Lights.
Exactly. Oh, fantastic.
I'll tell you what.
It's not the way we used to do it in the 90s. Can we get Jason Peter and Grant Winstrom in there to coach that D-line?
All right, Common fans. Way to go 1-0 this week. We'll be back at you with another episode of View from the Bland Stands with Evan Bland on Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
Check out the website, www.commonfan.co. Subscribe on YouTube. Tell your friends all the things. Huskers are 4-1. Huskers comes to town this weekend. We'll have a lot more for you soon. In the meantime, as always, GBR for life.